I'm good to me. But
Okay.
do you mean on the stream?
On the stream. We should be live anytime soon.
Oh yeah, check your recording and all that stuff. I'm not sure exactly how you want to do it, but I've made a mistake before.
Okay, we are starting in 2 minutes. Oh, so it was it was your Can you actually see me? Okay. This is gonna be interesting. This is gonna be super interesting. If only you knew the amount of pictures, interfaces, designs I have right here, you wouldn't believe. Okay. Are we done? Perfect. Let's just open here. Okay. So this is gonna be the first video on a series. The idea behind this is basically talk about a lot of concepts before Path of Exile 2. One of them is basically design. Then we have music, soundtracks. Then we have lore. Then we have mechanics such as game loops and so on. I've sent already a few emails for the next episodes. But today is going to be all about design. So without further ado, let's just start this one and present the guest that we have here today and change the scene. And you are not in the scene. This is normal. This is content creation. And I'm gonna fix this ASAP. Let's see.
Love it.
Ended.
Flawless.
You are seeing behind the scenes of what not to do on a stream. And I'm gonna tell you what I did. I minimized Discord. That fucks up the cameras.
Oh no.
Yep. So I'm gonna do this again. You're gonna see it live. So enjoy the backstage.
Awesome. We'll chill out for a minute.
Live streaming, presentation, and just relax. This happens. Let's see. Okay, we have one right here. Let's see the other one right there. And let's go back and see if we are all together here. There we go. Okay. Let me introduce you guys. On my right hand and my left screen, I have Silver, which has joined us today to talk about design. He has been creating a lot of concepts for Path of Exile 2. You may be seeing him on his channel, which is Silver XYZ, and he's also been part of some videos with tooltip Try about classes and ascendancies, and he actually made an incredible video recently about redesign for a league, which was the Alba one, Incursion. So you should definitely check that video out. He's a designer, and so it is the person on my left, which is Fire Penguin Master. Hello, welcome to the stream.
Howdy, howdy.
He is the person who has been designing the items tooltips in Reddit recently, which a lot of people have a lot of opinions to give. So most of them were positive, as the designs were actually insanely good. So today we are basically going to talk about items, tooltips, interfaces, UX, UI. My mother is going to be insane. And at the end of the video, we actually design a new interface for something that you will see. And we're going to share each of our designs. And you're going to be the judge of which one is better. But I'm going to tell you, mine is not going to be one. So, Silver, you want to start introducing yourself a little bit more your personal life, maybe?
Yeah, sure. Hello, everyone. Yeah, I'm Silver, based in the UK. PoE content creator, as I'm Maco, as he said. Like, I am very, very interested in design. I was actually just saying before we got on the stream to these guys, like, this is exactly the kind of thing, like the reason I started making content, to be honest, because I love design. I love UI stuff, but also just game design in general. And I really wanted to connect with other people, other, community members that were passionate about that kind of thing. And so I'm very, very happy that you reached out, Mako. And obviously, yeah, we've sort of talked before. And yeah, glad we sort of finally managed to make it happen. Yeah, good to be here. It's a nice day over in the UK. That's about all I got to say. I'm sort of just too excited for this chat to talk about
Fine
anything
day
else.
on the UK means that it's raining, right?
Yeah, just a light drizzle, which is fantastic summer weather for us. So yeah, throw it back to you, mate.
Thank you, Silver. And we go with Fire Penguin. What about you, man?
I guess I'm a PoE enthusiast. I have been playing actually since closed beta. I remember watching
damn.
the timer tick down so that when they'd hand out a key, what was it, every 30, 60 minutes, something like that. I remember doing that back in the day. I am still very bad at the game, but professionally, I am a UI designer for a very large, kind of boringly corporate company. So whenever I see anything in the UI space, I've always got some opinion on it or another. And when they started leaking screenshots for the PoE2 stuff, I shared an opinion, and it kind of grew legs, and so now we're here.
Perfect. Well,
Yeah.
I started playing Path of Exile I'm not as veteran as you guys. Honestly, I'm just been playing Path of Exile for only 8 years. So I know nothing about this game. I feel like I started yesterday. But Path of Exile, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 8 years is like you're a novice, right? Like, hopefully that won't be the case for PoE2, but we'll see.
Well,
Great
actually,
reset.
nobody here actually played Path of Exile 2, right?
No, I don't think.
Actually have played.
Oh,
Ayo.
I was able to go to ExileCon last year, so I played the build they had there.
Amazing. Is this where the shirt came from, Fire?
oh,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
So cool.
We looted that their merch shop.
Awesome. Yeah, for those that can't see, lift it. Come on, show the audience. There's the chaos shirt. It's just cropped on the bottom there.
It's insane. I'm so envious of the guys that have the Xbox controller from Path of Exile 2.
Oh right.
This
Dark,
one,
yeah.
but the good one, it's so good looking.
Yeah, it's clean.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so let's start with the basics. We're gonna talk about a lot of things here today, and maybe the best thing to start off, it's maybe the items that you design, Penguin, if that's okay for you.
Yeah, I want to hear more about this. I've been waiting to hear more about this.
Yeah, well, basically we gathered together last week on Sunday, and these two guys are as passionate as you can actually be. So we just bring a topic up, and everyone was just so eager to jump on the topic, and I was like, no, guys, I was like the guy from Jurassic Park, with the dinosaurs, like Chris Pratt, like, no, careful, it's gonna wait to the next weekend. So here we finally are, and we're gonna start this thing. Fire Penguin, let's see. Fire Penguin is so long. Do you want me to call you Penguin or Fire or Master?
Probably not the third one. We'll probably get clipped and recorded.
Okay.
I want to be master.
Penguin works, fireworks, whichever. I'll respond to something.
Ooh, I can reveal so many things here. But let's just go to the other window. Oh, I have to say thank you to Talkative Tribe for letting me reproduce this video up here. because I needed basically a video for the introduction. So thank you, man.
Oh, nice. Shout out to Try.
Now I'm looking on the other way. So let's just flip my screen. This one, this one, this one. There we go.
And huge props, just whilst you're figuring it out, like huge props to Maco for all of these. Look at these scenes. Have you ever seen such a beautifully designed podcast screen and in this genre? Never.
This is fantastic.
First stream with rounded corners. Okay, there's so many stuff for people. Obviously, you guys are not seeing what I'm seeing. This black screen right here is basically Photoshop, so we're gonna go topic by topic, but I have like 2,000 images right here. So let's just start with the basics.
I think apparently there's no sound coming through. Someone just said. I'm not sure if. No, his llama is. It doesn't matter.
No sound.
No, chat was saying there might be no sound, but I think it's good.
There is sound. Okay. Guys, I have like 3 viewers. If I already start like getting troll like this one with 3 fucking viewers, come on, man, step up the game. Come on. They might have had the tab muted. Okay. Troll alert. Yes. Fucking trolls. Okay. Do you want me to start with the items in themselves or?
That's a great question. Well, I think we should probably start with the skills.
Okay.
The skill tooltip is actually where it all kicked off.
Okay.
For anybody who hasn't been dredging through Reddit, I can kind of give a brief overview of where this all started. And it's not actually like a terribly complicated story. It's just screenshots started getting circulated of the reworked Raging Spirits tooltip, and it's got a ton of text on it. Mm-hmm. And as is pretty standard for the PoE interface, they center aligned most of it, like all of the what would you call them? Like the descriptive lines of what the mechanics actually do. They're all just center aligned right down the middle. And it's kind of bugged me in the past that it's all center aligned, particularly with more modern game UIs shifting a little bit over to left aligned text. But I've never really made a huge stink about it, except now with the new PoE skill tooltips, there is a section at the top of the tooltip which is left aligned. So they've got some left aligned text and some centered text, both in the same tooltip. And looking at that, it just felt really jarring going down the tooltip. So I just made a throwaway comment, please, for the love of God, left align the text. And it got downvoted into Reddit hell, of course, because it's Reddit. But then I made, like, it just couldn't get it out of my head. So I made a really quick mock-up of what it would look like left aligned.
There we go.
And there it is. Yep, there's the left aligned one. And another Reddit user saw that and was like, wait a second, this actually does kind of vibe with me. So he made a second post, and that one kind of blew up. It was the #1 trending topic in the PoE2 subreddit for a day, maybe a little bit more. And the conversation seemed really, really positive about it. So just for kicks and giggles, I started looking at, does this idea actually have legs? Can I apply this same sort of design style to items, to maybe skills with not quite as much text? And so I just started playing around in Photoshop and found up with some stuff that I thought works really nicely. So what's on screen right now is the Summon Raging Spirit from PoE 1 compared to Raging Spirits, which works a little bit differently. Now it's a buff skill, which seems kind of like almost like an aura, but I don't know, makes sense. It affects the new fire skills in kind of a different way. It's not a standalone skill, which is kind of cool. And I don't know how easy it is for you to flip through to some of the other stuff,
Yeah,
but
sure.
you can see in the next few screenshots that Maco's got just applying the same sort of design system where everything's left aligned to different sorts of items. I tried applying it to a different skill, which has a little bit less text. Still the same sort of amount of horizontal space, because looking at the screenshots that we've got from PoE2, there's actually a kind of fixed spot in some of the UI spaces where it has to be this wide, but I think it still reads just fine. Items start to get, they actually start to get a little bit more flexible because they have to hover over the screen. They have to account for different kinds of text, different lengths of text, and working a visual element into that top right-hand corner was also kind of interesting. Oh, don't forget to restart your camera.
I'm gonna go dark soon.
But yeah, that's essentially the story of how we got to here.
Do you actually know why people usually design things around the center? For me, it's something that always bugs me out about basically ARPGs. It's so much nicer to read. Well, books are made to be read starting from the left, right? Imagine having to read
in most cultures, yeah.
Well, yeah. Where you have Japan and you have other cultures, but you basically have things aligned to the left. And if you're talking
there are
about
a couple of reasons why you might center align things. The center alignment works just fine for very small amounts of text. And like for example, our names on the right side of the screen here are center aligned. The title for this slide on the stream is center aligned. So there's a time and a place for it. And when I think probably back Diablo 1, probably, I couldn't find screenshots for that when I was looking around really early this morning, but Diablo 2 definitely had the center aligned tooltips for their items and text. And 90% of Diablo 2 items are pretty simple. It works fine in that style, and so there's a lot of nostalgia attached to it. Once you start getting up into the really complicated items in D2, you could start seeing it fall apart, like rune words and stuff start becoming very difficult to read, especially for new players, but that's deep end game type stuff. Yeah. So that was actually one of the things I really liked about Diablo 3. And one of the places that I started looking for kind of like what are some more modern takes on the item UI is they actually did take everything and shove it over to the left side. And I thought this was a great step forward. I thought this was a lot easier to parse. It was actually kind of interesting reading through the Reddit comments because apparently that's not a universal opinion. There were some people on Reddit saying that was the thing they hated the most about the Diablo 3 Reddit, the Diablo 3 item tooltips is everything's left aligned. It's impossible to read. I genuinely have no idea how people come to that conclusion, but I'm not going to discount it just because I don't share it.
Yeah. It'd be interesting to see a poll on that.
Powerful.
Right?
Yeah, I would be very interested, particularly if we can get like enough people to have a statistically relevant sample size.
Yeah, it'd be really good actually to chuck this up afterwards and just as a question just for that, right? Let alone some of the other stuff we're going to be talking about. But yeah.
Yeah, I think at the start of Path of Exile, we didn't have as much text as we do right now in the UI. I think over time, well, I have an image which is perfect for this example. It illustrates what we are talking about basically. I'm gonna find it, and it's this one. You're gonna laugh as I laugh. Let me see.
It's interesting you
nope.
I actually didn't realize that D3 was one of the first to left align it, but as you're bringing this up now, wow, yeah.
This is
that's
where
the
we
sort
are
of amount
today.
of text where once you've got that amount of text, start aligning it, give it a hard edge.
It's pretty incredible how actually after years we'll still have like a gem in game that we cannot actually read. It's I have a 2K monitor and it's outside my screen.
Same.
It's ridiculous.
It's weird because that complexity sort of became a feature, not a bug of PoE from a kind of brand point of view. But then obviously that then bloated and sort of it. I suppose this really comes to what you were saying, Fire, where you put this post up because you thought, oh, I'm just going to whip this up because it makes sense to me, and then it just makes sense why it got so picked up, and why everyone's been so kind of I guess just excited about it and has been sharing it and upvoting it, because it's one of those things that we got used to. Like you were saying, it was almost a holdover from GGG's love of D2. I imagine there was a kind of nostalgic element to it, but when you see this and then see what you've just done, it's like, I think, yeah, like you say, there's some people that might prefer it, but I really think I would question the like if you really polled this and it got some stats on it, I think it would be pretty landslide, right? What do you think?
I would hope so, because that would validate my opinion, and I like doing that.
I think that for some cases, good design is usually unseen. Like when you look at something and everything seems cohesive and homogeneous, that's some kind of good design. Like there's nothing popping up or looking weird. There's certain well executed concept. Then you can like talk that it's not pretty or whatever, like the colors doesn't make sense or whatever. But I feel like we have played this game for so many years that we actually get like used to a lot of stuff that should be like weird for new players or people that haven't played for as long as we have. So when Fire Penguin basically uploaded that post, I think he actually showed us something that we grew accustomed to, and it took up like a fucking elephant, and
Yeah,
it was pretty hard to actually start looking at the items that we currently have again, and the camera is off.
it was like a waiter. You're at a restaurant, right? And you've been eating spaghetti for like, the last like 5 years, and then a waiter just comes and shoves some lemon sorbet down your throat, and you're like, oh, I remember. I remember there's other flavors.
Yep.
Yeah,
My
super
wife was very
refreshing.
helpful. My wife was very helpful in reminding that perspective, because she doesn't play PoE, and when she looked over my shoulder one day, I was looking at probably a Evolve skill, because these are just insane right now, and she just kind of looked over my shoulder and was like, nope, and walked away. And I think that's so true. That's what the call it the uninitiated reaction is, and it has to be, right? Like, where do you start with this? It's actually grown so tall that the actual beginning of the tooltip is gone.
Yeah. And then if you try to change that, it starts to break other design systems, within the UI design, right? It starts to break down. The system starts to break down essentially. I mean, this is a particularly gnarly example, right? It's a bit more of an edge case, but I mean, someone said in the chat. I was wondering if I'm not sure if you were planning on talking about it more or anything, but they were saying how the bullet points in your design are actually really helpful as well as a indent. I don't know what your thinking was about that. Like, what made you want to add the bullet points as well?
Oh, just a little bit of extra visual guidance. Like we saw in the D3 examples, they actually started using bullet points there. I actually thought that's what the chat was referencing, was the D3 bullet points.
Ah, right.
But then I saw also Last Epoch, one of the newer ARPGs, uses a kind of bullet point system, and they actually differentiate between prefixes and suffixes with different bullet styles. They've got their prefixes on the left and the suffixes on the right. Their bullet points are actually sitting on opposite sides of the tooltip. But
Yeah.
Excuse me. For some reason, I lost you guys on the stream.
Oh.
Okay.
I had audio, but I've lost the video from Fire Penguin.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
Yep,
There you go.
there you go. And we're back. Okay. Perfect.
Sorry about that.
No, it's fine.
Yeah, so I guess just to wrap up the thought on bullet points is they're really useful. They seem to be becoming a little bit more commonplace. And I thought that they, with how stylized and textured the PoE2 UI system overall was becoming from all the screenshots that I was seeing, they didn't feel entirely out of place. They actually are already implementing kind of a striped list style to the tooltips, or at least skills. I think I saw them also in items, which is fantastic. It makes it so much easier to read through them. So the bullets just felt like a really natural extension of that sort of desire to make those very long lists a little bit easier to parse.
Yeah, they're so subtle as well. Did you think about doing the like affix, the suffix prefix distinction as well, or was that something that you decided against deliberately?
I actually have done. Once we get to the screenshots of the items, skills.
Cool.
My initial screenshot, I just got a
find
little
it.
bit too excited, put in prefixes and suffix bullets in the skill, and then realized, wait a second, that's not how skills work.
So this one or this one?
This is actually, that's also just directly from game. They would just be the free floating tooltips.
The item tooltips.
So this one or this one?
These are all the skill ones. Is there a folder in
Oh,
there
the
for
items
item
one.
tooltips?
Okay.
Yeah.
The items, yes.
I can go one
All
by
right,
one.
so sure, yeah. This is actually one of the later ones I did once I started reducing the amount of text, because I think I kind of did this exercise backwards, where I started with what is the situation with a ton of text, and then does the system hold up as it reduces and reduces and reduces. So obviously it works pretty nicely if you just have everything left aligned with a small amount of text. I think it actually works really nicely if you fold the item art up into the tooltip itself instead of having it hover below or next to the tooltip, kind of like they do currently in PoE.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it.
But then as we start to open up some of the more complicated items, I can't actually see if you've named your layers or not. There are a couple of them with
just
rares.
Just tell me. I have my layers number and with names, the same names that you share with me in Discord. So if you just tell me the names, I can find them right away.
Let's see if I can zoom in close enough. Just go to the next one. I can't actually read what the layer names are.
I have them from normal to magic to rare to so on.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So yeah, we can just kind of scroll through them. I thought it was also particularly useful with PoE items. You've got suffixes and prefixes and implicits. So as we move from the normal to the magic to the rare, you can start seeing the iconography come in a little bit more and become more nuanced. Here we've got the implicit bullet point, I guess you could say. It kind of looks janky on a completely black background, but it still has the kind of 90% black box around it. So that's just right at the very edge of that box. And if you go down to the next one, now we can actually see the suffixes and prefixes. So you have the light comes at it from a different angle. It's yellow for prefix, blue for suffix. And I think that makes it really nice and easy to scan, especially once you start getting more complicated items where you've got bunches of one, maybe not quite so many of another. We can just jump down to the next one if you like.
I really love what you've done there with changing the light angle. and it's such a subtle. It's one of those things, like you said, Mako. You know, so much of UI and design is feel. Like you know, as you want the consumer to feel it, but not think it, right? And that is such a subtle but yeah, impactful thing. I think that's really cool.
I find that also the indicators for prefixes and suffixes also kind of structure the text. It gives them like an invisible line. It aligns everything together. That doesn't happen on the one that we have right now for two reasons. Basically, the center alignment absolutely fucks that up. But also we don't have like a clear start of each sentence, and I think that triangle thingy pointing for the prefixes and suffixes also give us like a very easy to see and follow with the eyes. And it feels so much better just by that itself. It doesn't matter. I feel like it doesn't even matter if it's suffix or prefixes. Obviously, I like that it's different for suffixes and prefixes, but just that tiny little indicator, it makes so much easier to read.
Yeah.
And if I'm seeing correctly, the implicit one is the whole, right? Doesn't have a filling.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it doesn't. It's kind of countered out, and it's round instead of pointed.
Okay. And if you have that corrupted, will you fill it with red?
There is a corrupted item in there someplace.
There is.
The
Hold tight.
version of it that's in there. Oh, I suppose we can just work through it one at a time if you.
I was just like
there we go.
Introducing the next one.
Sure.
Well, this is like maximum
this is where we
design
go.
system. Yeah.
Yeah, this is where it just kind of goes all out. I have, obviously, it's full 3 and 3 suffixes and prefixes. There's one of them that's fractured, so jumps to the top. I assume that's still how it's going to work if they keep the fractured mechanic in PoE 2. Through a corrupted implicit on there, additively to show the difference between the natural one that comes with the PoE 2 wand versus the the one that we've added. This item is so friggin' jank because I went on the trade site and I was like, what do wands do? I don't remember what wands do. And so I just looked for a wand with the corruption on it on the trade site, and then like Frankensteined it together with something that I saw in one of the PoE 2 trailers. But yeah, then also one of the conversation points that kept coming up on the Reddit posts is it would be cool if the corrupted items felt a little bit more corrupted. So I just yesterday started playing around with throwing some texture in the back, maybe some blood vessels or something, to emulate that seed of corruption element that they've got in all of the trailers. Throw corrupted actually onto the item type line, because now it's actually kind of a different sort of thing.
I don't know if this happened to you guys, but every time I see a rare corrupted item, for some reason the red, and maybe it's just that I've been playing this game for too long, but in my mind, the item looks like trash every single time that I see a corrupted item. I don't know if that's because I'm used to see like shitty corruptions on rare items. Maybe that's the reason, the main reason. But I don't know. I feel like corrupted items should look and feel powerful. And in terms of the visualization on the toolbar, not the one that you show here, but the old one on the left, it seems weak for some reason. It's just a text on the bottom that says corrupted. And I feel it should like have a hue or something like you did at the right. I don't know. They feel weak to me.
I think the order of where it indicates its corruption matters, right? Because even if we're just reading the item for the first time, what we're going to do is we're going to start at the top and read our way down. And so it's like, oh, this is okay. Oh, this is okay. Oh, I can fix that. Oh, I can fix. It's corrupted. Trash. So the fact that it's the last thing you read, I think, is kind of the pulling the rug out from under you moment. Where if you start out thinking, oh, it's corrupted, maybe now we've set our expectations a little bit differently. Now the rest of the information comes in a different context and we can parse it differently.
Yeah. Yeah,
Definitely.
I think that's such a strong point. It's that kind of hierarchy of messaging, issue, and it, like you say, it actually really feeds into our game loop because we're sifting items, and you look at something, and then it's like you essentially the first thing you want to know is the most important thing is like, is this thing corrupted, right? It affects your decision. It's the most top order sort of decision beyond perhaps the base type, but that's even that I would argue is probably less relevant. So I love that you've renaming it as well as adding that kind of almost not diegetic, that's the wrong word, but like making it intertwining it with the lore. Like this item, we're talking about a physical item in our imaginary world here. This thing is now corrupted, and you're saying that, right? By labeling it that. I love that. I wonder if there's an opportunity to perhaps instead of having the background, I love the blood vessel idea. I think it's really cool. But maybe having slightly less red hue in the background, and if you could create some kind of looping GIF sort of animation around the item, if there was a kind of
I'm gonna show
simple
you
effect.
something. Not sure if people are gonna see. This is out of the script. We don't have a script, but this is out of the no script.
Can you imagine this is all
I'm
scripted?
gonna go rogue, and I'm gonna show you something because I think it explains perfectly that exact same thing. Let me just look it up.
Like an influence, exactly like Cream King just said in the chat. Yeah.
Yep, because I have that already done. So I'm gonna show you. I actually did that for the conflict league, for the concept for the
cool.
MOBA. I made a MOBA league from Path of Exile, and I actually made an item with a red hue. I'm gonna screen share it.
Yeah, just something like that, like, but yeah, kind of like blood infused, or something like that could be
like this.
Could be.
Oh, you're gonna love this
cool.
one. Drop it. Let's share it.
Oh, dude, the new orb art as well is just freaking gorgeous. Oh my god.
I love the new currency art. Yeah, I actually I'm not sure if you've got these all on one screen or if they're just separated out in your Photoshop doc. I did like 6 or 7 currency orbs because I just love the new art so much.
That's awesome, man. I love that. Hey, here he is.
Going rogue.
Business Maco.
The man, the myth.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I'm working and I'm saving a presentation. Let's see. If this is the thing that you're saying, let's just get out of the way.
Valor for every party member. You can use it not only on any unique gear to guarantee 2 extra modifiers, but also on certain skills to upgrade them to their value.
Can you actually see a little bit of the hue here?
Yeah, if you try and stop it on that. Yeah.
I'm gonna.
We just flashed past it.
Here.
There you go.
And I'm gonna.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a really nice implementation, man. Yeah, I like that because that pulsing element, just a really subtle bit of animation. Even if it was
super subtle.
Even if it was, more subtle than that, I think you'd feel it really strongly, and then it gives that sense of power that something's happening with this item, right? It's accursed, there's something wrong with it, and that's kind of cool.
Just
gives it nice. That heartbeat kind of sense.
Yeah. And then you can imagine they talk about things like Rat's Nest, and they want to have like uniques having more kind of visceral visuals and actually sort of being expressive of their mechanics and things. And I think this kind of does that a little bit. Adds a bit more of that design philosophy into the items tooltip.
I'm not sure why they didn't basically do the same with influence items. Like if you have, for example, I don't know, a Crusader, you can actually see on the banner on top, like
it came later,
an intricate design of the Crusader. That could be perfectly done with Val.
Yeah, absolutely could be. But I think Silver's point is the chronology is exactly why they didn't do that. Corrupted items are so old; they didn't have the tech for it back then.
They are older than when I started playing. Do you know where they were introduced?
It would have been Sacrifice of the Vow, probably. I'm guessing.
Yeah, with that series.
So early on, I don't know what patch number that was, but very early on.
Very
1.1 was it, or
yeah,
old.
Or no, 2.0 it might have been. I don't know.
Let me screen share this.
Someone in the chat
I'm
will
not
know.
even sure.
Okay. What about this one?
Oh, this is actually a slightly simpler, just rare item, not corrupted. The kind of interesting thing with this one is that I started looking at what would it appear, or like, would it read better, worse, the same, if instead of adding all of these similar modifiers together, they were actually listed out kind of like they are when you hold down Alt and see all of the different affixes separately. So yeah, normally you would see the energy shield all lumped together, the mana all lumped together, even though they're 3 different affixes in the design system that we have right now. They would look like 2 lines. Yeah. And it's you actually have to have a pretty high degree of understanding of how the implicits work, or how the affixes work, how they combine, to realize that. And I have so many times missed that and just picked up a, maybe even traded for an item where the affixes are combined in a kind of confusing way. And I'm just SOL at that point because it's not actually what I wanted. I wanted to add something to it. I can't. Those affixes are full.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's such an interesting sort of edge case. That's not that much of an edge case, right? I think every PoE player has encountered things like that. Like, oh, this has got like a tier 1 role of ES, and it's like, no, it's the hybrid alongside, there's 2 mid roles, things like that. So do you think there is a potential solution? Because obviously, I suppose it does add a elegance to the in terms of that. You could argue that there's actually a simplicity and a clarity it creates by merging the mods. In another sense. So do you think there's a way to maybe use the alter the point system slightly, the affix notation system, to hybridize them or link them, or I don't know, then it starts getting a little crazy?
Yeah, I think you're right, is that the idea was to simplify the tooltip by combining those numbers. I don't necessarily know if it was a success, though. Because where you've simplified the number of numbers on the screen, I don't think that's actually something that's going to make or break the game for the type of player who's attracted to PoE. Because if you think about it, as Chris always loves to do, if you tie it all the way back to Magic, my Magic card is, like my Magic board is not made more simple by me stacking all my cards together. I want to know how it works, so I want to see all of the different numbers next to each other. I actually think this makes understanding the item easier, and it doesn't make it any more complicated for the computer on the back end. So I think personally, this is how I would prefer to see the items. Yeah,
I would personally agree with you as well. Actually, I think, like you say, I guess I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of new players coming into the game, and that's a big part of what's been driving your decisions, obviously. And I think the interest in the topic is the opportunity to make something that is more understandable. But yeah, I think your logic's like sound there. I think we want to understand what makes up the thing. We can add 2 numbers together if we can play PoE, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I see you photo hacking some stuff together. I actually did explore that. In the context of what if I threw this item onto a crafting bench? And this is kind of an old one. I didn't actually update the screenshot, but I did just shoot it over to you in chat if you wanted to take a look and see what my interpretation of that was. It's not really relevant unless I'm crafting it, right? The number of open affixes. So I figured in if I'm just looking at it in my inventory, if I'm wearing it, I see it normally like you would on top there. But then maybe if I've actually put it onto my crafting bench, or if it's in that special slot in my my stash tab, then it actually shows all of the affixes and shows me how many do I have open.
Yeah.
In the example that I've shot over here, we've got the one open prefix, 2 open suffixes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Love it.
And that would be super readable for crafting.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. And even, if you had an intermediary step, I'm trying to think of like harvest crafting or something like that, where you actually select the craft before you action the craft, you could actually see you could potentially block out the prefix or suffix that it wouldn't possibly apply to, right? And there could be an extra level of kind of, hey, this is just visually indicating this is where it's gonna go, just so you know. That's a really good point, guys.
Doesn't Last Epoch have something like this, where the items drop with an indicator on the name on the item on the floor when they have like a prefix or suffix open? I'm pretty sure it is.
Yeah, they treat prefixes and suffixes kind of with the same level of importance as PoE 1 treats sockets. So you can see, I think, the number of prefixes and suffixes that an item has when it drops, or at least on hover.
Yeah, because they all drop identified, right? That being, I guess, like the big differentiator on the floor, and stuff. I guess like affixes you can filter for affixes as well, right? And I think you can filter for open affixes or something, right? I'm guessing.
I got the image here. Let me see. No. This is the.
I really love.
This is
we haven't really touched on it, but the art. Like, I know Last Epoch kind of made a last-minute change for 1.0 for their launch, and had like kind of overlapping art stuff. But on the tooltips, but I really love what you've done there. Even even taking something like the body armor and then fading it out at the waist, and to try and create a kind of, I suppose, a squarish system that you can operate within. For different item types. I'm guessing that was your thinking.
Yeah, because the item name more often than not. Yeah, there you go. You can see all the how many affixes an item has when it drops in Last Epoch.
Nice.
But you're absolutely right that putting the art up there, I think, does 2 things. First, as you say, it makes it really visually cohesive. It kind of encapsulates the whole bit of information, gives it a nice square structure to it. But then also, I think it gives an opportunity to, I say it without like completely over dramatizing it, it makes the items feel a little bit more like they're in your hands, particularly the small ones, because the big 2x3s, 2x4 items like armors and two-handed weapons, those item arts are pretty chunky, but particularly with the really little bits like the rings, the amulets, the currency items, this is an opportunity. You can make that art just a little bit bigger in game, and you can see all of the detail and the love and the craftsmanship that they poured into those little bits of art. And I am a absolute sucker for all of the visual elements in things that are done really, really well. So I would absolutely love to see that artwork like as big and beautiful as what they were showing at the convention.
And actually, exactly on this point, I can actually show you this one, which goes right into that topic, right?
Yeah. So I was actually scrubbing through, was it one of Try's videos or was it Subtractim's video? One of them. They were just carrying rings, and I was like, those rings look dope. I want them. So I clipped them out of a stream. So these are probably a little bit mushy even as far as image quality goes, because they've been through YouTube compression. I had to zoom in.
Yeah, I destroyed the items. I resized them for the stream, so don't worry. They look good when they are smaller.
What I'm saying is that they would probably look even better if we had the source material. As
Yeah.
good as these look,
Oh,
and I
yeah.
agree they're gorgeous, they could look even better. I think once we get to the currency item renders, I think that's probably the best place because those items, I pulled those directly from the GGG live stream, and it had really big, gorgeous renders of all of the crafting orbs.
Yeah, they're like you said, the way that they're actually rendering these as 3D models now and not using 2D art assets, and the coherency, as well as just from a pipeline point of view, like the ability for them to generate these items, using some kind of like Python script that just renders these out into an asset, into a 2D asset. It makes like so much sense. That talk, I think, for us was, like I know you said this when we were chatting last week, Fire, but like that was such an exciting talk for guys like us, right? To see the guys breaking it down, and I'm gonna butcher the guy's name. Is it Dale or Dane? Is it Dane?
It's super hard, the name.
I want to say it's Dane.
Dane, yeah.
I
Let's find that
sorry
out.
if I'm wrong.
But yeah, he was, like you could just, even though he had such a sort of very low key demeanor, right? Like his passion for the artwork, and when they brought up like the uniques, and he was talking about, how he was like so adamant that these items needed to feel real and that they had a history and a place in Raycast. And so I think you're so right, like the love that's going into these and that feeling of having it in your hand like a trinket. At the end of the day, we're playing an item-based ARPG loot grinder, right? Like we are the people that are the true fans of this genre from sort of D2 days, and it's the two stone rings looking good, mate. Yeah, these are the things that like we are spending most of our time trying to find, and so when you grab it and that tooltip comes up, you want to look at it like, oh my God. Back in the day when you had like unique art for you didn't even have unique art for some uniques in things like D2. And then eventually they sort of, they would add something like that, or say like with D2R, like it was like getting to experience the thing that you imagined, like with Tyrael's Might, or like these like super amazing things that you were like, one day I'll get one, right? And so if the tooltip reflects that, and then on top of that, we're getting kind of 3D visual effects and stuff in game with, things like they talked about Rat's Nest and Red Beak and these things. Oh, dude, yeah, I completely agree. I think putting those up there front and center, it makes so much sense, man.
He actually told us that the Rat's Nest one is gonna have like creatures crawling from the head outside of the rat nest, like a lot of rats. Uniques are gonna be so damn interesting in Path of Exile 2. I'm super excited to see what they come up with.
And these are just our common items, our base items, and so but they're ultimately potentially the things that are going to become. I tell you, like this is a little bit of a tangent, but I won't go too deep down this rabbit hole. But one of my favorite things, mirror crafting and mirror crafting service has some controversy around it within the community. But ultimately, it's a great service. It's an important part of the game at the very top end, and it is, to me, I love seeing the threads on the forum and things where it's like, Doomfang or whatever, right? Someone's crafted a like 900 PDPS dagger that's like perfect T1 rolls and double corrupted, whatever it is. And it's got a name, it was just an auto-generated name, but you look at that and then you're like, wow, this league, do you remember the league that had Doomfang when someone perfect crafted it, Arguably, it's become a little too easy to perfect craft things, which is a whole separate debate. But yeah, I think so my point being, like, even non-unique items, it's so important that we get that art because it grounds us in like the lore that we're creating as a community with each league and around these items as we're crafting.
Yeah, I could not agree more. I actually remember the jump in. I was just gonna say, I remember the jump in visual fidelity for the item, the item icons between Diablo 1 and Diablo 2. and I think I must have been, what, 7th grade or something way back then. But I remember back then even thinking, those look so real, I could touch them. I need that game.
Yeah.
And it just made the experience so much more immersive to have items that looked like a thing I could hold.
Yeah, 100%.
Definitely. And for people, because we talked on Sunday, but some people don't know, actually the uniques in Path of Exile 2 are gonna be designed for at least the splash art for the uniques. They are designed first as a 3D asset, and then they're gonna snapshot the actual character wearing the clothes, and then gonna edit with the lighting and some like details over here, over there, and then they're gonna transform the 3D art into the 2D art for the actual interface. So the item that we see in terms of unique is gonna be exactly like we see in the toolkit. It's gonna be
you were busy designing the two-timed ring, as it will now be known forever forth. But yeah, we did mention this earlier, right?
Yeah.
Sorry.
It's not just the uniques either. I know they talked about it in the context of uniques because PoE 1 has so many unique items that got the card art, the icon art, but not the actual render art to put on your character. Yep. And they mentioned specifically that that's not going to be a problem anymore because of this new pipeline where they make the high fidelity 3D model first, and then everything comes from that.
Yeah, such a good point. That's such a good point. Yeah, it's like fundamentally changed the way that it's impossible for them to. It would be more work for them, is the point, right? I guess you're
exactly.
making.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually remember playing Righteous Fire just because Kaum's Heart has a unique 3D art. I mean, I look completely as a beggar, but the chest piece was incredible.
Yeah. That long neck, the long Templar neck.
Long neck, like with that twig branch.
Absolutely.
Off-color shield, gold rim on the head at level 89. It was terrible. And the oversized chest.
Absolutely.
Gold rim's up there with one of the most. It's like it's one of the strangest items in PoE in the sense that it's so low level requirement, but it was still used in these in so many builds.
Bro,
right?
It gives you 130 res. It's insane.
Which back in the day was Pog.
It's still Pog. I don't know if I start a character anymore until I've got a gold
I'm actually happy when I drop one on Leaguestar.
Absolutely.
Let me see what else we have here. We have a lot of stuff.
Was there anything else you wanted to cover on this fire, on the item designs and tooltip?
This thing, which I found extremely interesting. The evolution of the skill gems. Previously that we talked about skill gems.
Yeah. Just this through line from way back in the closed beta days where every gem looked exactly the same. Like you could tell if it was a support or an active, and you could tell if it was red, blue, or green, assuming your color vision worked.
Yep.
It's another kind of thing that they've been much better about it recently. I don't know if you are aware, but all of the transfigured gems. Yep. What's the new gem system? Yeah, the transfigured gems. Those are all colorblind accessible. Doesn't matter what sort of vision you have, you can tell the difference between those, which I think is phenomenal.
And that directly comes into the PoE 2 design, right? How it's we don't have colors now, right? Which is a very recent
Yes! Come on!
Yeah.
I couldn't fucking believe that. I was like
like the socket color seems to be taken out, but there is still color to the gems, right? So you can tell what kind of archetype they fit into. There's still purple ones. Those are probably all associated with chaos or necromancer type things. There's still red ones, fire. I don't actually have the whole thing memorized, but I thought it was really cool how they're using the color now to kind of code the flavor and potentially imply mechanics versus hard locking you into a different sort of system altogether.
Yeah.
Because even on here, there are blue fire gems, red fire gems, and green fire gems. So I know which socket they go in, but thematically, it's kind of all over the board.
There we go.
Yeah, the artists were kind of, unfortunately, that was what they had to go with, right? And that was the system to which they had to operate in. And it's really cool to now see the flexibility they have. And like you say, it's like the chaos gems down in the right there, and you're like, okay, I'm guessing that's something like Contagion and Essence Drain maybe or something, but we're not only getting the actual skill art crystallized in this gem, which is, you know, a really cool effect, but we're also, like you say, we're kind of getting suggestions, like gameplay suggestions, and it's just, this is such a, you know, that's been their whole philosophy with a lot of these changes for PoE 2, but it's so good to see it when a design philosophy is eminent throughout the stack, you know, of big changes all the way down to the granular details. Yeah, you're right. It's it must be fun for them to have that freedom again.
This is an insane kind of work if you actually start thinking about the amount of gems that we have in Path of Exile.
Ah, dude.
I mean, this means making a splash art for every single gem. Yep. It's a lot of work.
Yep.
They've got it automated a little bit though. Like you can kind of tell they reuse thumbnail images. They just put it through different pipelines. I noticed with the Raging Spirits, they use the same thumbnail, but there's an overlay to make it a gem.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I bet they've got some Photoshop scripts helping them out with that a little bit.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hopefully.
That makes sense.
But yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, from a business standpoint, you need to save time. If not, Path of Exile 2 is going to take like 3 more years just by these kill gems.
Don't put that energy out there, man. We don't need that.
No. I'm already taking my days off on December. I'm already doing OT hours for that month. No. It's gonna come on December.
I've actually been doing the same thing. I mean, this is kind of a perfect segue, I guess, in terms of like, you know, like you're saying, talking about the amount of work this stuff takes, right? Like us three have kind of set ourselves this challenge to design something. I don't know about you guys, but you know, anything you work on, even a first draft, like, you know, the things that I'm sure we'll be sharing, the details, you can get lost in it for hours and hours go by, and then it's like, oh, okay, I need to at least get 6 hours sleep tonight, I better go to bed. Right?
Guys, I'm in the middle of the stream and I just get distracted by editing that two-time ring, so
yeah.
Well, I mean, you guys are designers as well, so you must be super used to just trying to align perfectly the pixel, and then you move the values and the level of the lights, and that you can be like. This is something I learned basically when I work on my business back in Argentina a few years back. Is that time is one of the most important things about being a designer that nobody tell you when you study design. Like you can spend years designing something and it will get better and better and better and better and better and better. But you have to stop at some point. Optimizing the timeline, it's like 99% of basically designing. It's so hard to stop.
It's diminishing returns as well, right? Like the one thing that really helps me, the one perspective on it that has really helped me, because I'm probably like you guys, you get caught in it, the perfectionism. I'm sure we're all the same, right? And that's where the hours go. And one thing that's really helped me is like imagine it like levels of render. You know, it's like render passes, and it's like, you know, if you've ever like rendered a 3D image or something, you know, and you're kind of getting like the noise algorithms running and it's kind of denoising the image. And it's like, at what stage is this minimally viable to get the idea across? Like at what stage does this just communicate everything it's going to, and everything else from here is superfluous? And, you know, it's like, say like us three would look at these images now and be like, oh, they're super pixelated. I need to like refigure this all out or whatever. But it's like, well, for this context, right, all we need to do is we're just getting the point across. And so there's no more work required to communicate. And if you think of design as communication, then you start to get into like, I'm getting a bit philosophical, guys. I know.
No, but you're absolutely right. I
Yeah.
mean, design is not art. It has a purpose. It has a specific goal. If you're just lost in the art aspect of that, you will be lost forever.
Forever. I love that. Yeah.
I liked the somebody once told me that design is an effort of subtraction. How much can you take out and it still works?
That's brilliant. Yeah. They say the same thing about editing. I work as a video editor, and it's this like the invisible hand, right? It's like, what can you cut and still make a great film? That's the film that, you know, I guess like Occam's razor kind of thing, right? Yeah.
But it feels like cutting your own son. It's like, but it looks so good. Yeah. It looks so good. Why? It took me 2 hours to do that little thing that nobody's gonna notice. Yeah. I mean, Silver,
your lovely stuff.
In your videos, like every time that you pull out the video, I've seen a lot of things that probably no other people except other designers are gonna see. Like you are putting a lot of work, which is super to the pixel. Like I can see a shadow over there that you actually cut the shadow perfectly at the corner. You use a mask and it's perfect. And then it's gonna be a guy that okay, shadow and go. Then YouTube is gonna shred the quality to pieces, but I noticed those things, and I feel like that's one of the fun things about designing, actually.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I've really tried with these designs to not overdo the detail, and somehow managed maybe. So I don't know. We'll see what level of detail we all got down to.
So I would like to just pause a moment. Maybe we can go now to the Codex, and then we touch a little concepts, if you like.
Let's do it.
Sounds good?
Yeah, great.
Okay, so for people who don't know, we basically decided that the three of us are gonna design a codex for Path of Exile 2. Codex meaning a piece of paper where you actually can see all the monster, bosses, and like a compendium of all the creatures in Red Glass. If we are in Red Glass this time. I'm not sure if we're gonna visit other places, but let's see. And we actually came up with 3 different designs, and we're gonna see each other's design. I already saw them.
Love it.
I was laughing my ass off.
Right?
I was laughing my ass off because Silver doesn't know mine, neither Penguin, and they don't know anything. But I've seen the 3 of them, and the amount of things that that we actually make exactly the same is insane.
Oh, I can't wait
it's
now.
Insane.
I'm literally on the edge of my seat.
And then there's a lot of stuff that is actually nothing alike. So it was super interesting. I actually saw Penguin yesterday. I think that you shared with me yesterday. And I was like, I want to add that to mine. And I was like, no, I won't add anything because that's not fair, basically. And actually, I feel like that's one of the most fun parts of this, is that how can you come up with a different concept and they both work? It's super interesting. So,
All right.
Who wants to be first? I'm gonna be last.
Just want to mention before the moment passes entirely, there was a tiny part of me, like I'm kind of a competitive person, so there was a voice in the back of my head saying, "Don't show him yet. He's gonna steal stuff."
I can understand that.
I love the honesty.
Yep.
I love the honesty.
It happens. I mean, I was tempted. I was absolutely tempted to just add a few things. And I was like, no, man, it makes no sense. If I end up doing that, they will look like the same. And it makes no sense. We are not competing here. We are just having fun. And I thought that it was one of the most important things here is actually the difference
I want to
is.
win this poll. The poll that goes up at the end of this stream. I'm telling you, there's a little part of me. I'd be lying if I wasn't like, oh well, I hope people like it. But yeah, it's a good
Designers.
point. Like, the competition. I think competition within teams is such a wonderful thing. Like when you can get small teams to compete to make a great product internally together is like, that one-upmanship of a great teammate. That's fantastic when you get that. So very much the spirit I think we're all approaching it with, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah,
Let's.
I'm happy to go first, dude. That's not a
Okay.
problem.
Okay. I was gonna drop a coin, but go ahead.
It's still
Silver.
good. It's still good. Cool. So I've got three slides.
Yep.
So if you just hit up slide number 1 for me,
Yes.
and I'll give sort of a bit of a preamble, and then I'll talk about that slide. And but yeah, feel free to chuck up the first slide just for people to have some context
Okay.
and start digesting it.
Let's see it.
Okay, go for it. So the idea that I've got is so trying to like think about it from like first principles, kind of, like get the design, what's the goal here of the design and stuff like that. And I thought about what would I like to see, what I think people want to see. So for a Codex of Enemies, as I'm calling it, very uninspired name, but I was like, is it a Ray class Codex? I was like, no, because we might go to Oriath, we might go, who knows, right? So I don't know.
Now we can catch them like Pokemon, so they can be allies in the future.
Yeah, this is the idea, right?
Also true.
I really love trading card games. I don't play Magic, but I love it from a design point of view. And the idea of collecting things. I was a Yu-Gi-Oh collector and a Pokemon collector and that back in the day when I was younger. And I could see myself, I hope GGG make a trading card game at some point. I would absolutely love that. Shiny Piety, I reckon would be the most valuable card in the world. But yeah, so
they already done that with shirts for the Exile
exactly. Yeah. So for me, I really wanted to lean into this like card idea that we're collecting a codex and a deck of all of the enemies, the 600 plus enemies, 100 bosses in the game. And so this is when you open up the UI. Let's say you just hit C on the keyboard, right? And you open up the panel. It takes you to this this top level design, and this is essentially a slightly zoomed in sort of version of the full design. And as you'll see in the middle there below the title, it says current location and then the defiled cemetery. And the idea here is that I imagine from a game sort of usage point of view, you're most likely going to want to find out the enemies in your location. And this kind of then gets into like a game loop and a game mechanic element of it, where I thought it could be really interesting. Instead of having to go into the wiki, you could just hit this button and it shows you what enemies are of your knowledge are showed up in this area. So to break that down a little bit, you'll see on the bottom of each of the cards there's kind of an XP bar, and it's quite a nuanced system, I think, and I don't want it to be a really deep system, but the idea was that the more you kill each of these enemies, the more XP you gain towards this bar, and the more experience. There's 3 kind of breakpoints that you can see on the design there. Each time you hit one of these breakpoints, it reveals more information about this enemy to you. So of course you could just log out and go to the wiki and find out stuff, right? But this is about like making it feel like it's in the game. It's just quick hat. You load up a map and you're like, okay, who's in here, kind of thing. On top of that, there's the kind of information that you can reveal are the icons that are kind of shorthand showed on the in the top left, top right, and bottom right corner here. So the bottom right, I'll start with, which is the pack size. So this is kind of stolen from like the All Flames, the Necropolis experience. Is the idea of roughly what's the density of this type of monster. And that's kind of 1, 2, or 3 tiers. So on the bottom left, you see, okay, you're going to get a load of these sort of like snapping erratic gnarlfishes, right? And they're like your squibs. And then on the right-hand side, you've got a unique enemy example, and they are going to be 1 of 1. So you see that they're just a single enemy there. In the top right, we have the green outlined element, and this is kind of going off of the color sort of system palette a little bit, but Yeah, going out a palette. But I wanted to really clearly shorthand show, okay, the top right is showing their vulnerabilities. So this is their lowest resistance or resistances, and gives you a shorthand of, okay, what's this mob weak to? And on the top left, you have their damage type. And just as we've seen with bosses, there's the little icons in the PoE2 demos and things. You're getting to see what damage they're going to be doing to you. Just to look at the sort of frame and the full window to zoom out a second, then we've got in the top left, we've got search, of course, if you want to search a specific mob. We've got view toggle options, so you can go in card form by default or list form. And then we've got sorting, and I've sort of opened up the sorting panel there as if you'd clicked into it, and that then allows you to sort by a few different things. You can sort the cards that way. On the right-hand side, in the top right, you've got filters. Currently, it says they're inactive. You don't have any filters active. And this is probably a good time to then move over to the second screen, which if you can see in that top center. So if you flick between the two for a second, you'll see essentially on that top center panel below the title, you've got the current location and your codex. And all you have to do is click the arrow on each side to move across to each. So now this is representative of your full codex. Every monster in the game, if you wanted to sort of have a in hideout look at, specific things or whatever. Still, we've got all the same elements, but now you can see the filters tab is opened up, and that's popped out. And then you've got a few options there. You can filter by type, which will be like subtype and then subtype of that subtype. So, like humanoid, undead, zombie, right? Would be like the 3 tiers, or, I don't know, dragon, something, right? So you've got types there. You've got rarity. So there's basically 2 types of rarity. Maybe there would become more. That would be dependent on how they wanted to do it. But you've just got normal mobs that could be normal, magic, or rare, and then you've got your unique enemies. Your progress, you can filter by how far along in the experience gain am I with them, in case you're trying to do a catch-em-all kind of completionist thing and you wanted to hunt down specific mobs. And then you've got location, and you can filter by essentially maps, campaign. You could go to town with this, and then filter by content type as well: delve, incursion, delirium, different things like that. And then here, obviously, you can see they're sort of zoomed out a little bit, and you'll notice there's these like unknown tabs, right? And this is to create that card collection sense of, like, here we've got them filtered by or alphabetically. By like less than tier 1 sort of experience, or just over tier 1 or whatever. Doesn't exactly match up, but the idea being that, like, it's showing you all the cards you don't have. It's showing you there's more to explore in the world, and there's more enemies out there and stuff, and just creating that sense of kind of that trading card sense of collection. And then, you can scroll down on the right. Obviously, it's just a little scroll bar. That's kind of... I would love to add, like, more ornate graphic framing to this and stuff. That would have been the next thing I did if I had more time, probably. But I think from a design point of view, it's not super relevant right now. And then if you flick over to screen number 3...
I have a question before we...
Yeah, go for it.
For example, what is the chest, the little chest?
Oh, yeah, great shout. Yeah, I should have stopped for notes on this. So, the chest icon in the bottom left is to show specific mob drops. So for unique bosses that have unique drop pools, instead of having to go to the wiki to find Shaper drops Shaper's Touch, right? This would essentially open up a tooltip, hover over, and then you can, like the new tooltip system that they've got, you can click into the tooltip and see the item potentially. Or maybe you can't, and you literally just get to see the name of it, depending on how kind of gamey they want to make that, how much information they want to reveal.
At first, I thought it was like a reward for getting the card. Like, okay.
No. But one thing I would say is that I have forgotten as well is if you do complete your experience on a card, then you get the foil version of it. That's an obvious win, right? Yeah.
Wait. What if you actually...
Old.
That's sold. Take my money.
It will feel so nice if you actually have... I'm gonna go rogue.
Do it.
What if we have like a shiny thing, like the Pokemon shiny, or maybe the... Have you ever played Mu Online, the old one, like the 99B version of the Mu Online.
No. Never.
Basically, every single couple of hours in that game, you have like the dragon. It was like the dragons came down to the city, and there was like meteors all over the place, and some of the creatures in the map will become like golden. So you have to every time you have like an invasion at that one dragon invasion. You will try to find those creatures which are normal creatures, but they are all covered in gold. And once you kill them, they will drop like a Kundum box or excellent items or that kind of stuff. It's like goblins, like there was a shower of items. So what if actually in the game there's like super rare monsters that happens one in maybe you find one every league at one every single league, and then and you find like a monster like all golden, and when you kill it you got like a special drop, and you unlock the holographic card which has movement, and then every single league you can like build up like a super collection with all your shiny findings.
Oh, interesting.
That would be cool.
He's one of those that spawns though. He's going to be on the other side of whatever corpse is deading, and I'm going to watch him run away from me as I have to relog.
But you get the card.
100%.
It would be really cool to essentially thinking multi-league now for like us like decade players, right? Who are like, do you know what? Like it's that. So you could essentially, what would be really cool is if you had 2 tiers of foil, right? So you had your animated, really high quality, maybe every
we are going
league,
Korean here.
GGG only have to, well, they definitely don't put money on it, right? It's not to do with money, but what if every league they put 5 into each league, right? So that, so that you could find those 5 each league, but you couldn't get all of them that league. And it was kind of like a challenges system or something. You could even tie it to challenges, and you could really go down that rabbit hole and then say,
but I think it's super nice having system. That meta progression seems super fun for the all-timer. It's like some extra things to show off.
100%. I love stuff like that. Yeah, why not, right?
Yep.
And you could have your completed version, and then you could have your super rare foil that stays on your account, and it's kind of a bit of a flex, like winning the battle royale and getting the rower Spitfire roast thing, right? Like that was such a vibe.
I have the shitty one, the small one.
Yeah.
I don't think I got any of them.
Oh,
brutal.
God damn it.
So this was the second sort of version of that, and then is this if you just go on to number 3 for me.
Okay, let's go.
So then this is basically what happens when you click on one of the cards. So what I'd imagine was you have, when you're in the interface, you're hovering over the cards whilst they're in that card list form. There's that hover animation where the card's kind of floating, it floats up, and as you move your mouse around, it sort of wiggles around and stuff, like you see in a lot of web UI. When you click it, it sort of flips around and then expands out. So there's actually like an animation to the UI.
It's like the back of the card.
Exactly. It's like the back of the card kind of thing. It's like 2 sides to a card. And then on the left here, you can basically see the information system that's tied to the XP is shown here. So it's a very simple stat sheet, like that I've sort of ripped the base of it from the game itself. So you've got your key defensive stats on the top. You've got your your resistances, and then you've got the damage type and the vulnerability. And you can see on the bottom, I've labeled what each tier kind of unlocks. And this would need some fine tuning and sort of could be changed as sort of seen fit. But on the very bottom, underneath the model, if you move down to the bottom right, you can see there that, okay, well, once you get to tier 1, you unlock the core defensive stats, then you unlock the resistances and the vulnerabilities, and then finally you unlock the damage type. And that just adds a way to, like, again, it's in game, you're learning more about these mobs as you're playing up against them, and this very specifically ties into the reason that the panel, when it first opens, looks at the enemies in the local area, because I think it's trying to make this semi-useful and so that you're not going to the wiki. One thing that I haven't put on here is there should definitely be, I think, a wiki link direct from in-game. So you can just click a button, probably in the bottom right there, or maybe the title of the mob or something, and it takes you to the wiki if you want. And then you've got the damage types and vulnerabilities on the left-hand panel, and then you've got a description, just some fluff text. If they really wanted to go out, they could sort of get an AI audio Deckard Cain, train a model on Deckard Cain, get him to read it out to you. I say, child, like go really into it.
Or just pay juices to do the voice.
Yeah, get Jesus
Salutation,
to do it,
exile.
yeah. And then, so the idea with so you've got the model, and that would be a live sort of animation loop, just like an idle loop or something like that. And the background is relevant to the mob type. So, if it's undead, there'll be some sort of crypt, very low opacity crypt background. And then on the bottom right, you can toggle the audio if you want to hear what the mob sounds like, as it's sort of just, again, like a loop. Or you can click the magnification, that will toggle between isometric view and sort of model view. So in this view, you can sort of panhandle around the 3D model because we know they've sort of got these in the asset pipeline to a high resolution now. There's a uniform quality of all of the mobs that would make this viable. And then when you click into the magnifying glass, you can actually see it in an isometric view in some sort of dummy environment. And that just allows you to then recognize it from what we're used to seeing the game as. Yeah. So that's it. And then you just click off. You'd have a little X button, but I didn't do the X button. Sorry. You're stuck in this forever. And that's it. The game crashes.
I have a question. How are we going to actually hear the sound of the monster when we are like watching a YouTube video on our second monitor?
It's a really good question. I would ask Jonathan, just DM Jonathan and just see what he has to say about it.
No, man, I mean,
you just have the time when you click that button to when that monster makes a noise in the video you're watching.
The idea is that it's off by default and then you click it, right? Like that's the actual idea. But no, I get the jest. Yeah, it's like something no one pays attention to, but it's a nice idea. I think
I think that like enhance the actually work that people put up on the game that most people don't never see. Like it happens, for example, there's a guy in GGG that is designing these 3D models for the characters, and then you have like the anisometric view, and you kind of, it's not that you lost the detail because it shows, but there's so interesting stuff. For example, the amount of bones that you can see in the rib cage, you're never going to see that on the anisotropic view.
Yeah,
there's a lot of work that this kind of interface like brings up, which is super interesting.
Yeah, it's almost like you imagine that like they're like sprites, right? And like they're actually not 3D assets, and we're just seeing essentially like 8 different 30-degree cones of the same model kind of thing that are like phase pointing between the two of them. But this like you say, I'm sure they are generating these 3D assets. So the thing that it did make me think is, well, would this actually need a different render engine running in the game because the engine is so specifically tailored to the isometric viewpoint? And I know that's something they'd mentioned before, but I don't see it as an obstacle that would need to be that isn't surmountable, right? So, like you said, it's really nice to see the items up close. It's really nice to see the models up close. Just celebrate all the hard work everyone's doing, right? It's like on the table.
Man,
so that's it.
This is amazing, man. I love every single detail in this one.
Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. What do you guys think? Come on, be brutal, rip it apart. I'm open to the critique.
We can rip anything apart. Anything. Nothing is safe. Nothing is safe.
Great stuff.
But no, it's great, this one.
I've got a long list of things that I immediately want to copy and paste into my concept.
Perfect. That is the absolute biggest compliment that you could pay me. So I'm flattered.
Actually, filters is something that I think is super useful. All the concept about collecting things I find super interesting. I wish I thought about that. Actually, I thought that the resistances work the other way around. Like when I see red, I'm thinking that that's a weakness of the monster.
Good point. Yeah, I went back and forth on this many times, and I actually think still there's probably a better way to show this, but I was thinking weakness of the monster. Sorry, a danger to you.
Yep.
And then green being this is good for you. You know, number go up, kind of green number good.
I think the problem is that because it's so on top of the monster, it like connects directly to the monster and not yourself. Maybe that's why.
Good point.
But
really good point.
But
yeah.
this is amazing, man. I want to collect so many cards now. God damn it.
Yeah, it's like definitely filling out a little personal dream of mine that, you know, if we're not going to get a table, you know, a trading card game, then maybe we get one in the game, you know. The only the realistic kind of issue I see with this, beyond obviously the work to put this together just as a system and stuff, is generating the splash art for all of these enemies. I'm sure they probably had concept art, especially for key enemies and different things, but I imagine the 3D artists were probably just churning through models and just like they were kind of doing a lot of the concepts themselves, maybe. I don't know that. I don't know the internal process, but maybe the splash art would be a pretty big resource hog. But yeah, apart from that, I was like, I think maybe it's pretty doable, right? I don't know.
I'm pretty sure that they have splash art for everything. Remember, every time we see like a league launch, after a couple of weeks they post like the art direction for the concept of the league, and you have like, I hate to say this, but they look so much better in the art. Every time I see like an MTX or something, when you go directly to the concept where it was based on, it looks so fucking sick. Then in game you have like, obviously art. The limitation. This is like, for example, being an architect that you like everything is a pool and there's no columns. Then came like the engineer and it's like, what the fuck is this? Like it's hovering over the nothingness. Like
yeah, for sure. That's a good analogy, man.
Yeah, art is pretty free. Then you have to implement it.
Yeah. Come on then. Who's up next? Because I feel like, you know, I've done my bit. Now I'm getting to see. That's just boring to me because now I want to see the stuff that you guys have come up with.
I think Fire Penguin is your turn now.
Awesome.
I'll try to follow that.
All right. Can you just give me 1 minute? I just need to I'm gonna grab my drink of water.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll be one
Go
second.
for it, man.
Cheers.
That's going to be a tough act to follow, though. I feel like there's a lot of great details and like systems thought through and implementation stuff that.
I mean, every single one of us is going to have something that the other one doesn't have, so. Man, I have so much fun doing this. It's.
I really had a blast with this. Yeah.
I think I want to make a new one and do like an amalgamation of everything in one. I think it's gonna be a little bit bloated, but nah, I'm gonna save each design separately. They're so good. Let's see.
Sometimes it's fun to stretch those muscles, right?
Yep. Oof. Let's see, because I have a lot of pictures here that I was saving. Oof, this one.
Yeah, all my reference stuff.
Yep. It's super interesting. I never liked this thing. For some reason, I never liked this.
What they?
Well, it's so asymmetrical, right? Like when I'm looking at that, is 255 armor better than all of that red text? I have no freaking idea. So those little red and green blobs of text, I eventually started just looking to see, am I losing something that prevents me from using other gear?
Yep. I think this is the same problem when people who hasn't have a lot of experience goes to Path of Building, and they see this kind of stuff, and they see a lot of red. And I've seen cases, for example, where I see red, and it actually increases my damage. The amount of stuff that goes that works that way it's pretty bonkers in Path of Exile 1. Okay, let's go to the Codex. Are you ready?
Hit me.
Let's see.
I immediately saw exactly what you were talking about when you said that you looked at our two submissions and was like, "Yep, copy paste, copy paste."
Let's see.
Because I too kind of took a kind of a trading card angle to it, a little bit less fleshed out.
I love this.
And
Love it.
but unfortunately, I couldn't. Okay, I'm gonna throw a little bit of caveat in here. I'm using PoE 1 monsters because I could find art assets for them. And so, like, actually, if the I don't know if this is on stream or not, but if you zoom out, it says we're in Lionized Watch and.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
There we go.
Nice.
Beautiful. So, yeah, the first thing that I wanted to copy and steal straight off of Silver's is the filtration system. Like, I've got some really basic stuff up there because I knew filtering was going to be important, but I didn't dive as deep into it as he did. So, I mean, that as
don't
filtering
worry.
System goes here.
I sorry, but I have to say this. Like, don't worry about comparing. Like,
yeah,
we both gonna have filters. We're gonna have assets. We're gonna have similar things. It's based on the same thing, so it's gonna repeat itself. But don't worry about that.
What I'm trying to say is that was something I thought was really strong in his design, and I wanted. So that's where I'm gonna stick it in mine.
Yoink.
Yep. Kind of the same sort of tier system. I didn't put quite as much information right on the front of the cards. There's a little bit in the back, which we can see in slide 2 once we get there. But the kind of the angles that we were taking, I think, are a little bit different. I agree that there's definitely not enough information easily accessible to the players, especially new players in the game. So the instinct, or the urge, I should say, to grab the wiki and just like shove it into the game is definitely one I share. But I think that I wanted to go almost more with a storytelling angle to building this codex. So what I was trying to do is, what information does my character have? So I went with, instead of like 3D splash art, I'm just going to assume my character is a really good sketch artist. This is their journal. This is what they encounter, the information they have about the items, the places, the what else do I have in here? The different people you meet there, and then obviously the monsters that they fight and have to contend with. And then a little bit of peel the curtain back. Ghosts are really common. Kitava's unique. Necromancers are not quite as common. So like, there's a little bit of a balance to play there. But for the most part, the storytelling aspect that I'm trying to hit here is we're getting to see the world through the eyes of a character who actually lives there. And then with that kind of in mind, we can go to the next that next slide there. I've only got 2. And I wanted to dig deep into what maybe Kitava's page would look like. So here's the memory on the left there, where we used to see the character thinking about it. Now we're seeing the memory of that character as they had actually engaging with this monster. And then on the right, this is where we kind of peel back the layers. We learn more about this character, this place, this monster, through the eyes of the character as they encounter it. So we've got all the different names that the different characters that we talk to refer to him as: Black Spirit, Cannibal, or Cannibal King, Ravenous One, etc., etc., etc. We know where we found him. There's a little bit of lore there. I kind of went back and forth on listing his actual health pool, but I think it makes more sense to just say he's a damage sponge. He's got very high health. We're going to be here for a little while. And then instead of doing just a straight XP bar where you kill him, I don't know, 25 times, now you know what his resistances are. What if I know I'm dealing fire damage, and if I hit him with that fire, it's not dealing as much as I thought it should. So hitting him with fire reveals his fire resistance. Hitting him with lightning reveals his lightning resistance. This is a situation where I've hit him with fire and lightning, but not cold or chaos. So I don't know, maybe it's the same, maybe it's different. Similar thing with his attacks. He's hit me with slam, he's hit me with swipe, he's hit me with devouring darkness, but I've been able to dodge all of the thrown debris attacks. So I don't actually know what that one does, but I've got a pretty good idea about what those other three do. And then obviously I've died to X-Blast. You can kind of see yeah, that's kind of the idea, is that I wanted to expose the different elements of the story through the eyes of the characters that I'm playing. And it would be account-wide, so I could build up that that base of knowledge over time. And it's really cool to collect it across leagues, across the decades, like you were talking about. I don't have a fancy foil system. Definitely gonna be another thing I steal. But yeah, that was the idea behind it.
Man, it's beautiful. The concept of the character just writing the journal of his progress defeating these kind of creatures is insane. That thing that you give the monster like cold damage and you're doing nothing, and you are like, okay, cold damage, doing nothing. That's super interesting, and I love the little swing, the art of the swing, like yoink. Man, this is so nice.
It's like really just going back to that first thing you said, right? That's like, okay, I approached this with the philosophy that this is the journal of my character in game, and approaching it from that immersive sort of vantage. Incredible, dude. Like and this idea of showcasing the memory of you fighting that character, and having some kind of, maybe automated camera caption system, that like works in the background when you go through these moments, and seeing, gear that you were wearing when you did it, like just as a little side note, as talking about
that'd be
like,
sick.
The actual idea that you're getting an actual screenshot from like an invisible low-level camera or something.
So you know that when you check the codex for example, porcupines, you're gonna see an image of your character exploding and a lot of spikes going everywhere. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
A little pink cloud of mist just where my character used to be standing. 100%.
Yeah, I think one thing that really stood out to me is just like I guess like an oversight on my part, but is the fact that this is also a journal of like places and people and items for you in this design as well, I think is just really great. I think like from an experiential point of view as a player, that would be really cool. But the last thing that just like really I think is brilliant is, and it's so funny. So I was working on this like yesterday. And my housemate came into my housemate's a games developer, he's a programmer, he works like a company nearby. And he was like, I was like, oh, what do you think of this, Barnes? Like, what, this and this. And he was like, oh yeah, no, it looks really good. Like, great, very positive. He was like, I said, have you got any ideas? That I sort of cheated a little bit, I was like, getting some third-party help.
Okay, I'm gonna.
I was like, have you got any ideas? Anything you think's missing and stuff? And he was like, I love the XP system and stuff.
That's not fair.
Yeah, that's it. Kick me now. He said, I love the XP. Exactly what you said, almost verbatim. He was like, the XP system's really cool, but I think, wouldn't it be brilliant if you could like actually unlock information in the game as you experience it? So, and he said something like, he was like, so you find out the resistance of the mob if you do that damage type to the mob. And I was like, dude, that's such a good idea, but it's like almost feels a bit nuanced. And I'm like, it was yesterday, and I'm like, I'm already down this road, and that seems like a thing, right? Seeing you lay it out here and then tying it thematically into this journal style, and that he's, writing down, like they're writing down this thing that they've just kind of experienced, and having these sketches of the attacks. I love that, dude, because really, what do we want to know as players, right? We want to know, like, what's the thing that keeps killing me? And
Exactly.
you're gonna see it, like, right there. And dude, I think it's phenomenal. I like the way you've structured it. You've managed to condense it. But unbelievable work, dude. This is so nice. So nice. Wow.
Thank you.
Love it. What are you saying, Maco?
Oh, I thought it was you.
No, I'm at this point I'm just sort of like gushing. So I know I think it's phenomenal. I think it's phenomenal work. I love the idea. Kind of, I guess we've had a similar idea that you're revealing information over time. I think that's a really good like experience for the player. And like you said, like the two things, stealing a bit of the filtering and stealing like this like foil idea, that you can essentially complete a card, and then adding Mako's suggestion of like having like super foils, like this idea you can long-term meta progress and collect these things.
I have another one if you want to hear.
Yeah, do it. Yeah.
On this one,
okay.
if you, I have a little slow. I was very slow. What if whenever you die, you actually get like a stamp on that journal, like dead, and a date, and you have like a very red stamp out of blood on the skill that kills you last time? On hardcore will be kind of nice. Softcore, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
I
weirdly
very long. I was just saying, if we put a new stamp on each death, some of these pages are going to get very, very long.
Yeah, maybe just like the
I
last
would
one that
love-
killed you.
Maybe the next design challenge is, what does a death recap look like in this game, given all of the conversation that GGG has had about the difficulty of it, where they can't just say, zombie dealt 2% of your health, but it was in the middle of you taking 1,000% of your health from these other 500 attacks.
Yeah, they can show you the last hit as the cause of your death, because it could be like a million things. Even if you're on a degen, you're fucked. Like,
yeah. So I don't know about you guys, but one of the things that really stands out to me is we're PoE players. We like to work things out. We enjoy puzzles, and this is essentially just an elaborate puzzle game. And I think it's like, it never really stood right with me, this idea that like you took like the Dota thing, like you took 770 damage from this thing, right? Like, what makes more sense to me is like, give me a replay buffer recap, like give me a recap video and allow me to pause and see the status icons, like Jonathan has sort of talked about. Well, that's possible because we do that on the pause screen, so you could just do it on the death screen, right?
well, that's easy. You have to be a streamer.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
There you go. Streamer client solved.
Yep.
Done.
Exactly.
Better loot.
The legit argument for streamer client.
Dev cam. Perfect.
Yeah, but yeah, something like that. Like, just imagine opening this journal and it's got like your last death to that monster. It's saved as a clip. Or it doesn't have to be per monster, because that could be a lot of bloat. But maybe somewhere in there it's like your last death recap, and it's like you remembering that death recap. Right? Is the idea you're playing back this memory, and then you can pause that video and see the status effects, and you could even do a clever thing where it pulls the metadata from that clip and kind of actually has the status effects listed below it in kind of journal form, like you've got here.
I remember a game which was like a roguelike. I'm not sure how they do this, but basically, whenever you're gonna die, it's like the damage is calculated before the hits actually lands, something like that. So you actually, when you are gonna get like the last hit that kills you, the time slows down.
Interesting.
That's brutal.
Yeah, it's super...
just cruel from a dev space. It's like,
Yeah.
You're already dead. We're just giving you a second.
Yep. I mean, it was a game that there's not a lot
Yeah.
of things on the screen. So you basically like dodging things. So the client knows if you're gonna dodge it or not based on the distance. Like if you
Right.
move like 3 spaces to the left and the skill is right on your face, you are not gonna escape the skill. So basically, once you are like to one side, to the other side, and when you are gonna die, it's like, and you get like, and you actually can see like a slow motion how you die. That would be great. That is fucking impossible in Path of Exile, but it would look pretty good.
There's definitely weird psychological things. This is kind of going off topic a little bit. But it's like there's definitely psychological things that game designers do and can do, right? That kind of manipulate the facts of the game and how they present that information to you radically changes how you kind of like learn from that experience and stuff. Like Prince of Persia was, and that whole time warp thing was literally an in-game version of that. But I remember watching a video, me and like I was saying about my housemate, he makes me watch like game dev videos, which I enjoy. And one of them was about Celeste, the platformer Celeste, and how they had this very sort of intricate system where if you actually miss a jump off of a ledge, it doesn't immediately punish you because and it builds this like buffer, but you're not aware of it because it's so like simple or so like tiny, but that psychologically it radically changed the way you felt about that platformer and the way it felt to play. It's almost like we have a bit of brain lag, and I don't know, is it, like I say, it's a bit of a tangent, but it's a really interesting topic. How do they do this in a way that feels good to us? Like, hey, you died, but like, just so you know, like, you're about to be respawned, and here's all the things that you can learn from this experience,
Yeah, actually, social engineering in games is super interesting. Just like if you give like enough of a positive outcome out of a bad situation, it can completely change the perception of a bad situation. So that case that you just described is like, okay, I die, but I gain this.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think when are we gonna have? When do we do? Oh, fuck. That happened in Path of Exile, by any chance? I'm trying to think if I have that experience in Path of Exile.
What experience? Sorry, that you
Of
learned
learning
something
of committing something
It's
kills
so
me,
hard.
or I fucked an item up, and I learned something.
It's
I
so
remember specifically the back in the day when the first time I ever got to, did they call it Nightmare in PoE? It's been so long since they've introduced
Merciless.
whatever the second, Merciless. I remembered in normal, my character was shrugging off those elemental explosions after a pack dies, and so I figured in Merciless, same shtick, right? No. And I was playing hardcore at the time, so that memory is laser etched in my head.
Yeah.
Memory unlocked.
Like the first time Corrupted Blood gets a hardcore character. And you're like, what is that? And now anytime you hear that sound, you're like, oh my god.
Just to pile onto your tangent though about the psychological impact of certain game dev decisions, like I and your roommate would be like very good friends, it sounds like. I watch those same sort of like psychology videos. I don't know if you guys have played the new Doom games. Was it 2013 and then whatever one just came out lately?
No.
The health bar is not normally it's not evenly spaced.
Okay, it's not linear, the amount of damage that you take.
Yeah, it's not linear. That's the word I'm looking for. At the top end, it's really sparse. At the bottom, it's really dense because they want to create as many situations where you survive an encounter by the skin of your teeth as possible because that's exciting. There's nothing in the game that indicates that.
That's super clever.
I wonder what the like the bias is on that, right? Like what the actual curve looks like. It would be really interesting because it would be really interesting to know what the minimum level of weighting could be to generate the maximal amount of excitement, per level of per increment.
Yeah, that's optimization.
Exactly.
That would be really interesting to test. Wow, that's so smart. So smart. Wow.
So elegant too. Like
you
never notice it.
There was a game that actually Ashes of the Gods. No. It's a roguelike also. I played a lot of the roguelikes. It was one where you actually get like curses, and you get like certain boons by getting more curses on yourself. It's similar to Santum basically, but the curses are pretty rough on you. But it could happen that some curse like goes the other way around, and you get like a super powerful buff, and the game goes like completely insane out of the blue just by having like an immense kind of curse on you. And it creates super fun loops. Like, for example, there are some games that once you get low on health, you become enraged and you deal more damage. So you are basically like, you don't want to be low health because you can die, but you have like that extra damage that you kind of want to be the enraged kind of barbarian going like, ah, everything dies, and you can die, but you are not dying because you are like regening some kind of health.
Do you guys
back.
play Dota by any chance? You play Dota?
Yeah, I played professionally Dota 1.
Okay, cool, right. So like, yeah, Huskar is like a hero in that game, a champion in League or whatever, and it's like the biggest bait. It's so obvious when you're playing in low MMR like I do, right? It's like he has like a stacking regen based on how much life he has, how little life he has, right? So he can have no life, and he's degenning, but he's regenning through it. And so you just see like 5-man teams go up to him, and like he's at like 10% health, and then it would just like raid boss the entire team. And it's that bait thing that you're talking about. It's like we're so susceptible to it, and it's so nice when you don't know it. I think to your point, Fire, like like one of the things that I was thinking about was having a butcher style thing in the game, right? And I did this video on it, and it's like I really dislike dynamic difficulty scaling in games. I find it like incredibly patronizing. It's like not the type of gamer I am. Like Skyrim default leveling, content scaling to your level. I'd much prefer to just get slapped by a crab and just be like, well, I guess I suck at this point. That's fine. I'll come back stronger, Yeah, D4, like, exactly. And that's actually, I think, one of the most underrated problems with D4 that people just don't acknowledge enough is like, it feels dead because of that. But anyway, and one of the things with this butcher thing was I was like, well, I think it should be one of the hidden parts in the game where dynamic difficulty scaling is implemented. That you have this nemesis that essentially is just constantly at your level, and kind of, but just difficult enough that it's like maybe you could do it with good mechanical implementation of your build, and that's difficult to do in a very multivariate game.
Yeah, they actually made like that are the case with rogues, right? In Path of Exile.
I don't know if that is the case.
Like rogue exiles, the one that just jump on you on maps.
But I don't think it's the case in the sense that they're not looking at, say, like your average DPS output, your like defensive layers, and then essentially building like an enemy on the fly that is appropriately rated. Imagine like D&D's like encounter rating.
Okay.
Right?
I understand.
That he's saying, okay, I know you put out 1 million DPS a second. I want you to take 2 minutes to kill me. So I know by this calculation, your uptime is your DPS uptime is probably 0.7%.
So create your own fucker.
Exactly. So it's like, but this is all done in the background, and as a player, you would never know it's happening. Just so like you're talking about Doomfire, where you go, God, that was a good fight. Oh my God, yeah, I beat him. Every time. It's such a good feeling when you beat the butcher early on in D4. It was like, wow, it's the thing we want. I don't know. In my that's my 2 cents.
No, it's kind of interesting. I'm just feeling like I'm gonna have like a chaos inoculation guy, and it's gonna appear with 300% increased physical, and it's gonna fucking one tap me in the face.
Game the system.
Yep. Well, that's also the case with the Hall of Grandmaster, which I think is like, it's pretty cool, but badly implemented right now. I think it was pretty nice back in the day, but right now it's just an impossible task. It's just annoying.
it's the
They
coolest
had all the
possible idea for a map. I think.
yeah,
Like, yeah,
but then they had all of the rocket scientists figure out, how do I break this system? How do player characters work differently than regular mobs, and how can I build my character to be impossible for that character to deal with, knowing I'm going to be scaled a little harder?
yeah,
I think that's
exactly.
the reason why they failed with PvP. I'm not sure if that can be done in Path of Exile 1 at least.
It's
Do you
just
know
a
what?
completely different set of parameters and
Yeah,
perspectives, and like the math has to change so much.
I think it's related
yeah,
to the amount of damage that you take, that the human body cannot do anything. Like, I cannot react to that kind of damage or movement speed or attack speed. It's impossible. So that's just like a chess. If you have more damage and you deal the right amount of elemental or whatever, you're gonna die. There's no skill involved. It's just building the character, and then the outcome comes by itself.
yeah.
Yep.
It would be really cool if they could somehow make it work for, even if it was a watered down version of the core idea. It wasn't literally like, hey, we're going to take these super broken characters, scale them, and punch you in the face with them, right? It's like, okay, here's like maybe the, top 10 characters of each class in the last league, and every league it updates. And maybe even if those characters weren't one for one what the characters were in terms of in the game, but they were like, amalgamated versions or descaled versions of those characters. Like, that's just such a cool thing to be like, yeah, last league I got a Grandmaster, right? Like, our last league, like, what a cool community thing.
I think a possible
Anyway.
solution could be, not in Path of Exile 1, but in Path of Exile 2, having the actual characters that hunt you deal like huge amount of damage, but they are, for example, you have like a guy who throws at you like a super spear, like it's gonna throw you a super spear. So it's not like he's gonna spear in the face and you're fucking dead. It's more like, okay, he shows up, he has a line, like, I'm gonna hunt you down, whatever. And then he's like charging the spear up, and he's like doing like a very high damage spell, but with a very clear window for you to actually react. I think that you just need to give players time to react and actually do some kind of mechanic to avoid the hit. And that I think it will be enough. Give them enough damage so you don't one-shot them off the off-screen. And then just a little bit of game of avoiding skill shots, like any MOBA or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the attack telegraphing is definitely something that they're aware of and building around in PoE 2.
Yep.
Yeah. So fingers crossed. Anyway, I feel like I derailed us massively there. So is there anything else that you wanted to share on your design, Fire? Is there anything, or maybe anyone in chat, if they want to throw up a question whilst we've got you on this stuff? Like, I'm curious to hear if there's any more you want to talk about.
I covered everything I wanted to. If there are questions from the chat, we can definitely look at those. But otherwise, Maco's got his design that we've still got to reveal.
Yeah, I have to say it again. I love the sketch design of this one. It's super interesting, and actually, you designed it in a way that it could work perfectly for console with the whole screen interface. Well, the same with you, Silver. Yeah, they both work with console. In my case, you will see I'm not full screen.
Interesting. Yeah, because mine was kind of supposed to be more of a panel, like that would be like 2/3 of the screen. But I love the way you're right. Like with yours, Fire, it's like already scaled down to half screen as well. So if you wanted to, it would very quickly translate to like a half screen window. If you were co-oping or something like that, potentially they could like quite quickly implement it and just maybe take off the memory background section, you know? Yeah, really cool. Come on in, Maco. Here.
Okay. Let's go. Let's close this one. Sorry, I have like a fucking million folders. Let's see. Okay. Oh, perfect. The camera went out just as I was starting, so it's gonna be Gucci now forever. Perfect.
Gucci.
Okay. Let me explain a little bit of the concept, right? There is no concept. Basically, what I did what I did here is basically just give useful information, and that's it. I didn't go. I honestly didn't have much time. I was working for my OTs for the end of the year, so I can play Path of Exile forever. And I was just like, okay, what do I want to see in the game to be useful for me and give a little bit of extra to the gameplay and not be so much time consuming. You will see now the difference. I went way more minimalistic and short. You will see. So the first thing, when you kill a monster, the first thing you'll see is this one. Is the clip exiled. Okay?
Oh no.
Oh, man.
So
Cliffy for the win.
oh, I have to not laugh at my own jokes. It's impossible.
Okay, no, come on.
So
Challenge level impossible.
it helped us back in the day, and it will help us again here. So whenever you kill a monster for the first time, clip is gonna appear here and say like, "Hello, Exile, you kill a beast. Congratulations. You would like to learn more." And you will see here an hyperlink that will go directly into a link tree. Because what do we in game if we can outsource this for free? Makes sense, right? Like we have path of building, we have the trade window, and Jonathan has said that website is always better, right? So just website. So we have the link tree. I have my character just mashing a little thing, and if we go to the first link, nothing happens. Doesn't matter wherever your screen you click, you will go directly into the microtransaction screen. And as you can see, it would open 3 different tabs. You cannot escape this one, and you have to close every single one. Be careful not to buy anything, and you will go back to the link tree. And now you can actually click on the things. It's like downloading a Jack Sparrow game. And now if you click on the Monsters Wiki, you want to see information about the monsters, it will go directly to Gaz's channel. So now you can open any video and just annoy him and tell him, okay, what is this Spectre doing? What's the life? What's the damage or whatever? And he will just share with you a link to his website, and you will annoy him later on that website. Now, I'm going back, and obviously you have a link to check the store. If you click it, you will go again to the microtransaction window. Makes sense. And you will close that, and you will see what's the best channel of on flat Earth, of course, because Earth is flat. You will see my channel because I paid Path of Exile to actually do like a little bit of ad here. And then you close that, and you have 2 more questions. Do you have money? Goes directly to the microtransaction page. And if you close that and you click on how many keys do you have, obviously you will go again to this page. And the last one is that you can actually play Path of Exile in the browser. We have done this since forever. And if you click that, you go directly into Excel.
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. So can you get these spreadsheets as part of a microtransaction, as a part of a supporter pack, or is there a Grimrow supporter pack?
That's a Grimrow supporter pack. You will have to spend a lot of money, and I think like 1% goes to actually Grimrow. Yep. And he has to give you access. So you have to subscribe to him before you get access to this one. So it's a little bit of a mess, but it works. And it's all color coded, and They are pretty good. Okay, now let's stop with the bullshit and actually see the actual codex, right? Sorry, I have to be a little bit of a clown from time to time.
No, dude.
That's my
Thank you.
actual skill.
Thank you. That was my laugh. That was my belly laugh of the day. Done. Yeah.
Perfect.
Sorry for blowing anyone's ears out.
So, how does it work? Basically, you will see that you have here the life of a monster. This is the first time that you encounter a carnivorous scavenger. And the first time you actually see this monster, it will appear like this. You will see a little bit of a question mark. And if I zoom it here, you will actually see that it has like a experience bar that it just goes like this. And once you actually complete the experience, obviously you kill a bunch of monsters and you complete the experience, not like you have to farm the monsters. And also, once you complete this, you won't have to do this again. So it's a one-time thing, because people will get annoyed by having to do this every single time. And you will have a screen that is like Carnivorous Scavenger Codex updated, and you will see a window with a monster. And now your window with a life bar, it will go into a little information pop-up. And whenever you click that information pop-up, what you're gonna see is this one. It's a little window at the left, nothing invasive, just super small, and you will have here like important information. You will see like a splash art of the beast that you just killed. You have a little information about the amount of times that you kill that monster. That's like a little extra I put there. You will have like some tags that depends on the kind of monster. This is a beast and it's horror because it's fucking disgusting. And you have like a little bit of a description that I stole from the internet. And if you go down, you will see basically the skills that the monster does in 3 different icons. This monster only has 3 skills. And obviously I didn't design this. I should have, but I didn't have time. But if you hover over the skill, you will see the description of the skill, right?
Yeah.
And below you will have basic information like this monster inflicts bleeding, vulnerability, and maim. So you expect that if you see this monster, you kill it, and you open up this window, you'll see like, oh shit, it has fucking bleeding. Okay, I need a flash for bleeding or I'm gonna die in this map. That kind of stuff. And then the weakness is basically this monster has low fire resistance, so it's weak to fire, and it's pretty weak to stun threshold. So it will have a very small threshold for getting stunned. From Path of Exile though, you know, the endurance is the name, or I can't remember the name of the bar that once it's filled, the monster
They've changed it a couple of times. It's like stagger.
Stagger. I think that's the one.
Then they called it poise, like at one point in a few interviews. I don't know exactly, but yeah, stun threshold. Yeah, I think is the. Yeah.
So this is basically a page for a single monster. You will see in the top that this is a monster from Beast of the Sun clan, which is actually a clan in Path of Exile 2, and is part of the of the creature codex. And the creatures is part of the general. You will have this one also for uniques, which is not creatures, and so on. And if you see down there, you will actually see a search bar because they are always helpful to have. And obviously you can go a little bit down and you will see, for example, the locations where you can find this monster, because that's important if you are playing specters. And you actually like the monster, you like the skills that it has, you can actually go down and see, okay, I can find this monster in the graveyard, and it's a level 5 monster. You can find in the ruins of Ulnaga, it's a level 34 monster, and so on. And if you just click here to display more information, you will actually go and see all the information regarding this monster, which is basically all the information you need to know in terms of if you want to play specters. This is all you need: the amount of life that the monster has, the armor, the resistance, the attack speed, the attack damage, so on. So my design is basically this: is super small, super concise information. just what I need to know to just avoid this fucking creature, know if I want to capture this creature, know if I need to have certain flask, and if the creature applies to me some kind of curse, like vulnerability. And that's pretty much it.
I dig that.
Yeah. You go first, Fire. I'm curious.
Ship it.
Ship it. Exactly. Exactly. It looks so at home, doesn't it?
It really does.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I was having doubts if I should have gone from the... I started designing this basically using assets from the couch co-op, and then I thought like, fuck, I'm gonna play in the computer, and I should have been designing things with a PC in mind. So I go back and I redesign everything based on PC.
Right.
So, well, that's pretty much it. I don't have more to say. I didn't have like a concept. I didn't go to the meta thing, which I now I want to do the meta thing, and I want that splash art to move.
Yeah.
But I thought that this was like a little bit more to the bone and just basic information that even... I thought that the Codex should be more casual friendly. This seems way easier to understand for a new player for Path of Exile. Like, okay, this monster did do this and inflict this kind of stuff. Okay, that's all I need to know. And for the players that need more information about the stat of the monster or where to find it or whatever, you can just go down. Just so you don't actually need to find anything online.
Yeah, I think in terms of, like you said, if we were to sort of top level categorize it as I've basically tried to create a card collection game, right? Like, and really go into that collector thing. Fire's really done an amazing job of creating like a thematic journal that kind of like is quite information rich as well. It's like, if I was to really try and sum up yours, it's like you've created something that literally could, as you said, Fire, like you could ship this and it could be in the game next week and people would be like, that works, that's cool, that feels totally at home. It's like super utilitarian. And yes, it may not have, like you say, some of these meta progression things and stuff like that, but just I really like the practicality of this design. Like even from the first couple of slides you showed where you're like, okay, as I'm killing this mob, I can see what's happening next to its name. And then I get this Codex update thing. And then it's like, oh, cool. It's like very digestible whilst you're playing the game. Whereas I feel like you've made me really consider, say, the biggest flaw in mine would be it's kind of taking you out the game. It's like a book that you're choosing to read. It's not tons in terms of like, I hadn't really thought about the experience of gaining that experience as you're killing these monsters and how you actually get notified of things. And again, I think like the way you've got the debuffs and its weaknesses and stuff. What's interesting to me is that we kind of all had so we've all had this kind of experience progression thing that you're discovering something about the enemies as you kill them. That's quite a simple idea, I know, but that's kind of universal, right? And we've kind of gone about it in slightly different ways. And I think something that I would immediately kind of steal from your guys' work and see as a miss on my part is having the skills that and more of like available to go into more in-depth information about what the skills do and how they're going to affect you, and basically like really educating the player about what's happening. So, and I feel like we're kind of all in agreement then in that sense. I'm really curious, like, were you trying to be very utilitarian with it? I know you said you were kind of a bit limited on time, but from a design point of view, like when you were designing this, were you like, okay, I want this to feel really at home? Because that's how it feels looking at it.
The thing that I thought was basically, if I'm playing the game, right, and I'm killing a monster, and as soon as I kill the monster, I get pop up like a big screen that occupies the whole screen. and then I have to actually start reading and doing stuff. I feel like for the first time playing the game, you will be getting out of the game loop every 10 seconds. And I feel like it was like a back and forth from screen to gameplay, screen to gameplay. And I think that people are gonna get annoyed. They don't want to kill like a mob, walk 3 feet, kill another mob, and get prompted by a huge interface again. So I was thinking like, okay, the experience bar is interesting not only because of the meta progression, but also because you will kill certain amount of mobs and then get prompted the window. So it's not like window. It's like, okay, I kill like 100 of these monsters. Now I'm getting the window, and probably until I get prompted again for the next window, it's gonna pass a little time. And I think it's better to digest that information over a long periods of time. And I feel like it will make more sense because once you get prompted with new information, you will actually be more inclined to actually read it, knowing that it will benefit you and you won't have to do that again for a few minutes or maybe 30 minutes. I don't know. I was thinking about this in terms of playability, not getting out of the game, and don't be annoyed by this, because there's a lot of things that we have asked to GGG over the years, where it feels extremely nice in paper, but then when you start like actually playing the game, it gets a little bit annoying, and that was basically my train of thought.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, well, I think you've achieved your goal. So, I mean, like you say, the signal to noise ratio and the digestibility, like not getting in people's face too much with prompts, and this system being kind of very natural as you experience it, I think is a real, that would take some finessing and stuff. And it feels like you've really considered that way more. I basically didn't consider that. I was like, you're just going to kill mobs and then, we'll figure that out later.
Well, so. It's Path of Exile. You have to kill mobs and that's it. But it's also true that you need time between these windows because, for example, I just walking through the forest. I kill this carnivore scavenger. And I get prompted by inflicts bleeding. And I was like, interesting, bleeding. I go back to town, I bought a flask, it's kind of inflict bleeding. I go back, I kill another monster, inflict poison. I'm like, God fucking damn it. I should have bought like a flask for poison and bleeding. Fuck, I go back to the town. Now I go back out and that motherfucker burns me. And I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna ignore this. And once I get killed by something, I'm gonna buy a flask. So this is more like, okay, this bleeding, you carry your bleeding flask for at least 2 or 3 maps, and then you get like, okay, this monster on this zone deal poison, and now I'm gonna go and take a poison flask. It's more like digestible over time.
Yeah, you don't want it to be oversensitive. I understand what you mean, because you're gonna numb the player to information essentially. So yeah, I understand. Yeah, what are you thinking, Fire?
Really that information to noise ratio is absolutely the right point to take away here. I think the slow trickle, particularly for new players, is absolutely something that the sort of Codex presentation is really strong at, and I think that the implementation from both of you guys is a fantastic consideration of different ways you can go about that.
I will. Yeah. It's funny because if I have to like describe each of the designs with one word, I would basically say mine is utilitarian. Silver is more like fun. It's like go all for it, collecting cards and having fun. And I think Fire Penguin one is way more like, it gives me that role feel, like I feel like I'm part of the game, that immersion that is super cool when you get into the game and you actually start like looking the codex and feeling around the monster. like for example, when you play which game, for example, Witcher games has a lot of this. It gives me that that feeling of something is alive in the game, and I think that each design has its own uniqueness and thing that just works. Now I just want to put the three together into an abomination. Like,
you know what? That's literally my mind is just in the background already started doing that same thing. It's like, okay, yeah, how could you retain some of the fun of like collecting cards, but with the immersion of Fire's thing, and I think, and then like the utilitarian aspects of your design, and it's like, yeah. It's almost like I want us to just like all book off half a day of work and just sit down and just like and just go to town on it, you know. but
Needless
yeah, no,
cards, man.
yeah, I'll start working on the animations now. Yeah, nice. Yeah, super cool. I honestly, I really like. I do like. I was quite happy with my design in terms of really selling that like clean. I've got a deck. I'm like collecting a deck sort of thing. I think I achieved that. But in terms of, I think that's quite a. I almost feel like it's like a third of what the design needs, and you guys have between your two designs have like really covered the rest of it. Having the skills, having like the presentation that way and stuff. And I think I would love to basically sort of submit my design to you guys if we were in a team and be like, right, can you just somehow get this feeling of like collecting cards into what you've done? And it's yeah, I agree with you what you're saying, Mako. It's like I think for me, if I was to cast a vote, I'm a player that loves story and immersion, and I think Path of Exile is a very gamified game. And if you know what I mean by that, right? It's like a very gamey game, and I think any opportunity like they've been trying to do with the story and the sound and the visual design and stuff to bring that into the UI and try and make our experience feel more like we are embedded in Rayclast. Like the fact that Jonathan sat down in the interview, I think it was with Try, and Try was like, "Oh, have you ever thought of having like a world map in the game?" And Jonathan was like, "Oh yeah, we don't actually have a map of Rayclast, like of the continent, like in the game. We just have act maps."
Wait, no, we have a map.
I could have sworn it.
They even send you a map when you buy like the super collector packs.
Do we have a? Do we?
Yeah.
I don't know because
I don't think
we have a map of the world.
They've got the they've got like the little corner where the coastline is.
This one.
Yeah, so we've got like the act maps and stuff, right?
Oh wait. Oh, god damn it! Sorry, 1 second.
No, it's cool. Yeah, do it. Yeah, maybe I'm wrong, but like I suppose.
God damn it.
Super high res.
Yep.
So where is this in the game?
Yeah, it's the in the game part that.
Right, like this is the point. It's like where, yeah, because I know what you mean. Like yeah, I've seen this and it's like, oh, cool. And when I remember when they said that in the interview, I was like, oh yeah, like why is this not in the game? Why is there no point in the game? Yeah, we have like the acts, right? Like the kind of and I just think. Things like that, I suppose I'm like pointing to this as an example of where I think the UI has a lot of low-hanging fruit to bring us and immerse us. Because if we're running through maps or we're running through the campaign, they've already done it with the way we interact with NPCs, right? We teleport them in instead of going back to town. That's genius. Such an elegant solution to this. Instead of stopping us for cinematics every 5 minutes, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think, things like this, like the UI and what you've done with this journal concept is like, yeah, my character's going on a journey. I'm learning things, and I just think that's I don't know. I just think it's like to the point where I'm like, right, I need to email someone at GGG to watch this video because like Fire, please like get Fire on contract or something, like it's yeah, I just think this concept is such a strong idea. That I kind of bow down to you, mate. I think if I was to cast a vote, I would throw it in your direction. I think.
It's funny how nobody actually did like a codex for NPCs. We
but you
focus all
did.
on monster and we didn't thought about NPCs.
Well, but this, I mean, you at least gave a nod to it, right? Fire
Yeah,
in
but-
your thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Because like Parandus, right? Like Izaro, like these are phenomenal characters. Like the saddest fact that, well, it's not a fact. The saddest thing in my mind is Izaro might not be in PoE 2, right? And like
I will die if they
I'm
don't
gonna
put
go
this
back
out
and do
on.
lab runs all day if they take away those voice lines. I
Yeah.
need a Zaro in my life.
Like talk about a YouTube video, right? Like Maco, if you want to just like get some views on the channel, just get every one of Azaro's voice lines, put some music to it. Just be like, the wisdom of the Emperor, you know?
Yeah.
Say that
To
on
entertain
Google overnight.
doubt is to dance
Yeah.
with death. It's
Yeah.
such
Dude.
fucking cool
An
lines.
Emperor must wield two blades. What's it?
So good.
What is it? Emperor must wield two blades, hope in one hand and surety in the other, right? Or something like that. It's like, oh, dude. Honestly, I feel like the things my dad never taught me is our.
Promising. An emperor must keep those promises.
So fucking good. Oh!
Oh man, sensational.
I hate to be the killjoy, but I've actually got to bounce here pretty quick. We
Oh,
might want to
mate,
wrap this up if we could.
Must I do
makes
everything
perfect. Yeah, we
myself?
just get bloody. We're gassing now. We're just gassing. So, Maco, throw it over to you, mate.
Well, I think we are almost closing up. I don't want to extend this more because it's going to be like 3 hours. I will just go through a lot of images just to see them and just give like a little bit of talk, but very small, and then we wrap things up. Do you think that that's a nice idea? Maybe we can actually run down, and if there's something way too interesting, we can schedule a part 2.
Do you know what? I would personally argue that this feels like a perfect kind of like point to maybe say part 2.
Okay.
Part 2 might be coming, and all of these things. Because if we rush past them, we might not give them the weight that they deserve.
Yeah,
Um,
that's probably true.
so
Well,
if,
I'm. This is my first stream, so I have to learn these things.
Yeah, I feel like a part 2. I mean, I've had a great time, guys. Like 100%. This is just like hanging out with some really talented designers and stuff. And like I said earlier, like I've wanted to do this for ages, so I'm very appreciative.
Yeah, I feel like the past 3 hours just went flying. Like this was so interesting, and I actually see the passion that you guys have. It's intoxicating, and I don't know. I can talk about this for years. I mean, I've done this for years, but it's like
I wouldn't even have said anything except my wife is in my other ear saying, "You gotta go mow the lawn."
yeah,
Yeah.
Out of respect of your time, I'm gonna wrap things up here, and maybe we can have a part 2. There's a lot of stuff that we haven't covered, like for example, the interface for microtransactions, the actual map of the game in game. There is no map. There's actually an interesting thing, which is the events. There's a window for events in Path of Exile 1, and who knows? We have never used that. And there's a lot of stuff that I have saved here, but I'm
race
gonna save it.
seasons, like you say, like having race seasons come into the game, and like how there's like so much that you can have
or challenge rewards, or man, there's so much stuff. There's so much stuff, but we're gonna do a part 2. I think we're gonna end it here. And if you have any closing thoughts that you have to share, if you want to start, Penguin.
No, this was great. I very much look forward to being, if not an avid watcher, maybe I can come back on the stream with you guys at some point, talk more about the design stuff. It's fantastic hanging out with other PoE and design nerds. Yeah, highlight of my day.
Thank you, man. Silver?
Yeah, mowing the lawn isn't the highlight of your day. That's the first thing. But no, yeah, completely agree. Like I've said, I've been gushing. Absolute pleasure, and I very much look forward to like recapping this and going back through the designs and stuff. So I'm guessing we can see the video up on the channel, Mako, at some point, or
Yeah, I'm gonna
it'll
probably.
be live as a pod.
I will download it now, and then I'm gonna just edit a few things. Basically, I'm gonna just put some interesting part at the beginning, just to cut attention, that kind of stuff. But I'm not gonna just cut everything. Maybe I will do like a full video, and then another video with like parts, recaps, like a 10-minute video of a lot of interesting things that we have been talking here, and just if you want to see more, go to the long version.
Right.
I will just eat this video at the office every single day. This is super interesting.
Yeah. So no, that's what I was just curious about. When can I watch it, basically? Because it's been a blast.
The bot is gonna be up.
I know. I'm being impatient.
Yeah. The bot is gonna be up. I'm gonna probably. I'm not sure if I'm gonna hide it. I'm not very savvy in terms of YouTube algorithm. If I should put it down and then upload.
It'll be fine.
I don't know. But you will be able to see it. And thank you guys for coming. Honestly, you know that this is I had to be honest. My channel is super small, and actually having the reach to talk to people, which is passionate as you are, for me it's a fucking dream come true. It's like I'm talking with professionals in their fields. It's the same field as mine, so I feel like at home. I'm talking about the game that I've been playing since forever. I'm looking up to the part 2 of that game in the near future. I'm pumped up fucking hell. And if I can keep doing this, having you guys here or other guests and that kind of stuff, I'm going to be happy for many years to come. So thank you for coming, man, and wish you the best. And I will probably, Silver, I will see your video soon, obviously. Fire Penguin, maybe I will see some of your designs in Reddit. Or maybe I will see a video, who knows? Who knows? Well, we'll leave it like this. And people who is watching right now, thank you for staying all this time. And please go to Silver's channel, subscribe, give him likes to the videos. And if you see the Penguin Reddit post, go there and say, okay, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen, and put like up. And we'll see you again on the chapter 2, which is gonna be maybe all about design part 2. Who knows? It's like chapter 1.1. Who knows? So take care. Have a great day, people. Thank you for coming. See ya.
Cheers, Mako.
Thanks, man.
Cheers.
Talk soon. Bye-bye.